Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. How's everybody doing? Breaking news. Some random publication in Myanmar has reported about Lamine Yamal's desire to What are we doing here? People getting ahead of the clickbait. Big up to you, Belgrade. Big up to you. Big up to everyone. How's everybody doing? Hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love with those you love to do them with. It is Wednesday. It is 11:49, and we've got some more hot takes to get through today. We've been looking around the market, trying to find you another player or two that might suit what we're looking for. I also wanted to sort of touch in on this, or touch base with this notion of Curtis Jones, who was apparently linked to us before we made the Conor Gallagher signing. And the Conor Gallagher signing is imminent, by the way. He's completed his medical, and we'll be talking about that as well. Sousa's having his medical, so maybe a double announcement, which is good. It's interesting. Good, better, try. Listen, get a couple players in. Got 6-7 more players we're looking at. Curtis Jones is, or has been, one of them. And I'll be honest, I don't think it has to be an either-or for Conor Gallagher or Curtis Jones. I would be more than happy to take Curtis Jones on top of Conor Gallagher. I think he is an unbelievable player. I think he's fantastically versatile. Can play in the 10, can play in the 8, can play as a left wing. I think he could play as a right wing, even though he's very right-footed. I think he could do the out and out stuff. I've seen him play on the right, but I've certainly seen him playing off the left wing and then find himself on the right wing during the build-up. And I've even seen him play right back, believe it or not. You know, I think he's a brilliantly versatile player whose stats are really, really good. I've seen Paul O'Keefe saying he's not really a progressive passer. He is. He is, though. His progressive passes are one of the best metrics in his game. We'll go through his stats. I'm an advocate that we could get, if there's any chance that we could get him as well. I don't know if he'd want to come to Tottenham, but if you could bring him in, 100% get that guy through the door, add him to the squad. He would be an unbelievable upgrade in a variety of positions. You know, at the moment, given where we are with injuries, I think versatility all of a sudden comes back to the table again, right? You don't know who's going to be back, when they're going to be back, and how that shape can look in the squad. But players like him, you don't walk away from those options if they're real, if they're actionable. Just because you've also found another deal in Conor Gallagher that I'm really excited about and can't wait to see how that materializes. We've got some other stuff to talk about as well, guys, and we're going to get all into it right about now. Please smash the like button for me like you always do. Really appreciate any help you can give me. We're on them. We just hit 41k, by the way. Unbelievable growth. The growth in the last, basically since Christmas has been sensational. So very, very appreciative to all of you lovely people. Day 3, no booze for Butler, and quite enjoying it. I actually managed to stay up until about midnight last night. But I bagged bundles of energy. Recently, I've been going to bed at like 4 p.m. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm a teenager again. You know, might get a chance to be linked to Tottenham Hotspur. Smash the subscribe, guys. Notification button should be squeezed. Comments should be dropped thick and fast. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's topics. We are going to talk about Xabi Alonso because I didn't make it up. Xabi Alonso. Even I put this video out last night, right? And in fact, before I get to that. OK Jersey is today's sponsor. Apparently their website was down yesterday. I think they had some glitches or whatever, but they're back. And so if you are looking for those things that are regarding shirts and retro stuff, outfits, athleisure wear, sports clobber, whatever you're looking for, branded, unbranded, all that stuff, best price in town, best quality in town, you can get them at OK Jersey. Now the website's back. Code Sean at checkout gets you 8% off. And as I say, keep looking back because there is going to be an update to their supply list as soon as possible, and then everyone's happy. So big up to them. Thank you to them for the sponsor. We are, of course, also available, guys, on your podcast platforms. If that's your jam, then you can find me over there. Please look for Spurs Talk Show. or wait for the links to drop down from a little thing called Stream Elements, and you can follow us on Instagram, the Spurs Talk Show, on Twitter, on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all that stuff, and we're everywhere. We're everywhere. So anyway, what was I talking about just before then? I had something to say. My memory's gone. Oh, what was I just talking about before I got to that thing? Yeah, Sean not drinking equals 2 streams short. 100%. Have you spelt Chabby right today? I didn't put his name. I just put Alonso talk. There you go. Curtis Jones. Yeah, Curtis Jones. We're gonna talk about Chabby Alonso. Oh, that's right. That's what I was gonna say. So I put out a video last night, right? 20 odd minutes long it was. It had 7 topics, 7 different players. It mentioned, obviously, Diomande. It didn't mention Curtis Jones, but it mentioned all the other players that were in there. It also mentioned Chabby Alonso. And, of course, you've got to make the title a little bit interesting, a little bit rat-a-ta-ta. And my comment section this morning is filled with, all the usual absolute nonsense. Butler, can't believe you're doing this like it's your joke. And, first of all, if you don't like my content, don't watch it. Second of all, there were 7 other topics in there. Third of all, I didn't make any of them up. I show all of the links that I'm talking about. And fourth of all, the betting market is the betting market. Again, not something I control. And he is favourite on the betting market. It's pertinent news. But the old content police out in full force, telling me what I can and can't content about. Content's got content, people. Don't like it, don't watch. Do like it, smash the like or smash the dislike. Don't really matter as long as there's some engagement. Anyway, let's start by talking about Curtis Jones, shall we, guys? Because I think it is something that is an interesting story, a really interesting story. Where is my Curtis Jones? Here we go. So we've got, it basically says that we were interested in Curtis Jones, right? But for me, where's my story on him? Here we go. For me, I don't think we should change. I don't think we should necessarily pull the plug on this one. I think he's a really, really interesting. I think he's a fantastic player. Again, someone that comes with bundles of experience for his relatively young age. He's a big, strong, strapping guy that works in a physical league. He's versatile, as I've already said. And I'll show you his stats in a minute. But this is Paul O'Keefe that's responding to someone that says, are we looking to add a progressive midfielder this window, such as Alex Garcia and Hayden Hackney? He says, I don't know. Not really progressive, but they had Curtis Jones on their list. Presumably, they scrubbed that now. Only got 1 year left on his deal. The 24-year-old midfielder, who has previously been described as exceptional by Jurgen Klopp, has enjoyed a resurgence under Arnie at Anfield, but is entering a critical period regarding his contract. With his current deal set to expire in June 27, he is effectively entering his final 18 months as a situation Spurs were reportedly prepared to exploit before turning their attention to towards Conor Gallagher. So Curtis Jones is a really interesting one. And I want to show you his stats, right? But he isn't the only interesting player that we can talk about today, because there's another player that I think that Tottenham might be missing a trick on. If we're talking about players like Alex Garcia that have got that kind of unbelievable passing range that can do a little bit of everything, but not necessarily the defensive work, there's other players out there that also kind of can compete with the passing stats that maybe haven't been tested at the highest level yet. And they're getting on a bit. They're 27. And I think this guy I'm thinking of specifically has been spent his entire career in Holland. But what a player he has proven to be in Holland. Now, question marks around his ability to step up, but I'll show you his stats when I come to that bit. I'm not even going to tell you the name of him yet because I don't want to spoil the surprise. But let's get to Curtis Jones, right? Curtis Jones for me. So, I mean, his passing stats are unbelievable, right? And this guy, like I say, he can play in the 8, can play in the, he wouldn't play in the 6. He can play in the 8, can play in the 10, can play as a left winger, has played as a right winger as well, but predominantly he's a right-footed guy, so he's more likely to be on the left wing if you wanted to use him in that way. Passes completed, 93rd percentile in the Premier League as well. Pass completion, 92%. From a Premier League midfielder, Unbelievable, 98th percentile. Now, of course, you have to remember that this is based on the last 365 days, the majority of which Liverpool were very successful and outperforming side with their possession. This last 6 months or last 4 or 5 months, maybe they've been a little bit indifferent with their successes, but this covers the last 365 days. Total passing distance over 1,000 meters a game, unbelievable. It doesn't even really drop off with his pass completion at long. So he can sit there and ping the balls into the channel as well. Now, it was said that, what's his name? The guy I've just talked, what's the guy's fucking name? I can't remember his name. What's his name? Paul O'Keefe. My memory's gone to shit again. Paul O'Keefe saying he's not really a progressive passer. Well, he is statistically. He has 4 times more progressive passes a game than Rodrigo Bentancur does. By the way, I don't know if this is true. I'm not really in the business of calling people out, but someone in my comment section after the video yesterday, when I mentioned about Paratici effing off to Italy to be with his bird, which all stemmed from Paul O'Keefe saying that. Someone told me that Paratici is happily married with 2 kids. If that's true, if the new girlfriend, the new squeeze thing is not true, and it's just fabricated, then that's a really horrible thing to say and put out there. Yeah, he has banned me. Yeah, he has banned me. I don't know why. We are not selling you Jones, said Red Rebellion. Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the situation there, but you've only got 18 months left on your contract. Maybe if he was looking for another, I don't know why he would come to Tottenham anyway, but we're just participating in the conversation. But anyway, let's take a look at where am I going? Curtis Jones, right? So doesn't really switch the ball too much, but then again, Liverpool have a high possession based thing, so it's not really that necessary to do it. Very, very interesting player. Very interesting player. Shot creating actions 78 percentile, 3 times a game. He's involved in things that lead to a shot. He also presses high from the front, which is something that Tottenham Hotspur would very much like, and Thomas Frank would very much advocate the utility of, right? So I really like him. I think he's a fantastic player. 96th percentile for carries, total carrying distance, 273 meters. By the way, 273 meters gets you into the 96th percentile. Do you remember the guy Adams Organ that I pointed out to you guys before? The guy he used to be from Charleroi, or he played for Charleroi last year. Now he plays for USG. I think that guy's in the 99th percentile, but he's at something like 500 meters of the same with that Arden Deshawi. Arden Deshawi had a horrendous amount, massive amounts of total carrying distance that puts him in the 99th percentile. But you're never quite sure what the next percentage down, 98th percentile by 99th percentile, how many more yards do you not have to carry the ball to slip down? If 273 meters or yards, whatever that metric is, gets you into the 96th percentile, and he's someone that, as you'll be familiar with him, does like to carry the ball when he's moving with it, is 96th percentile, then it just goes to show you how far advanced Arden Jeshwari, when he finally kicks on and becomes the player that we all know he's going to be, and maybe Adams Organ as well, if he gets a chance at a better league than Belgium, how good they will be with their carries. Quite incredible. But anyway, Curtis Jones was the story there. And, I mean, look, Red Rebellion is saying no chance. No chance. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know. I'm just bringing to you what's in the news. And I'm just saying that if there was truth in it, then he's someone that I think would be absolute value. But obviously Tottenham went in a different direction. Maybe they reached out to Liverpool. Maybe they reached out to Curtis Jones, and Curtis Jones said, "No way, mate. Been working hard. Been working hard to get in this team. Not giving it up to come to you. Fuck that. Been working hard." Anyway, so there's that. There's that. What where's my thing gone? A bit weird. Oh, I've got disappeared altogether now. Can't get the people these days. What's going on here? Bring me back. It's all gone tits up. Why has my screen gone tiny? Here we go. Let's fix that. Bish, bash, bosh. Get that one back. There we go. Bring me Garcia, says James DXB7. Yeah, 100%, mate. I don't listen. I think Alex Garcia will be wonderful. Will be wonderful. There is a player. Though I think I saw someone. Yeah, my accents are getting better and better and better and better all the time. Listen, by the time that you guys, by the time I'm 50, I'll be able to fully switch into every single accent seamlessly. It's my new thing. It's my new thing to every single show to put on an accent and see what happens. Calm down, calm down. Anyway, let's. So I see someone in the thing saying, Sean, you better not be about to bring up the name that I think you're going to bring up. And I am going to bring him up. Joey Veerman. Joey Veerman, ladies and gentlemen. Has anyone thought about Joey Veerman coming to the Premier League? Like I say, he is a player that hasn't tried it, hasn't been tested at the top level. He hasn't. And maybe there's a reason for that. He's 27 years old. He's 6'1", though, right? He's 6'1". He's kind of skinny for 6'1", but he's a big guy. He's got an unbelievable passing range. Again, I don't know whether or not he would survive at the highest level in the Premier League. However, I think he is someone, I think he's valued at about 40 million euros. Let's take a little, excuse me 1 second. I can hear myself think someone's talking in the background. 1 sec. Sorry about that. Cleaner's got to clean, but don't do it on the phone when I'm live streaming. Anyway, let's have a look at Joey Veerman. So this guy is a complete, I think you can call him a complete midfielder, right? He contributes going forward. He contributes with his passing stats are unbelievable. Key passes, so a pass that leads to a shot, right? 99th percentile, 3.31 passes per game. Passes into the final third, 99th percentile. 10 passes into the final third per game. This is obviously for PSV Eindhoven. So again, a relatively possession-based, highly competitive, highly successful team relative to other squads. Again, totally aware of the fact that he might not land. But this guy was going to go to Brentford in the summer. So Brentford clearly rate him. And Brentford very rarely get their sort of trading strategy wrong. And again, if we're looking for people that can add the ability to get the ball from A to B quickly, progress it, when we've just signed Conor Gallagher, and maybe we're trying to do a lot of other things, for me, value-wise, I think it'd be an interesting one. Progressive passes a game, 12.15 progressive passes per game. That is 6 times more. Is it on the screen, by the way? It is on the screen, isn't it? Yeah, good. 6 times more than any player in Tottenham Hotspur squad currently. What else are we doing here? Through balls. Through balls. He does more through balls in a month than the entire Tottenham team has done all season, by the way. Crosses into the box, 99th percentile, 6.87. Again, I can't stress this enough. I know this. He's doing this for PSV Eindhoven. I know. Sure, I'm not looking at the championship. Well, we are. We would look at Hayden Hackney. I'll bring up Hayden Hackney in a minute. Joey Veerman would be available for probably about 20, 25 million euros. He would have joined Fenerbahce at the start of this window for that amount, but the deal is off now. Look, like I say, if we're trying to buy players as a kind of a short-term fix to be able to get things through the door, if he's good enough for Brentford's scouting department and scouting model, he was going to join them in the summer. For whatever reason, it fell apart in the last minute. I don't know if he picked up a niggle or something, and he failed the medical, or whatever happened. He had a change of heart. He spent his entire career in Holland, I believe. Let's have a look. Like I say, he can play in any position: defensive midfield, attacking midfield, or in the. He's valued about 27 million euros at about 10-15%. He was valued at 40 million euros last season. Yeah, he's been at, where's he been? PSV since 2022. Heung Min before that. I'm just saying, as a midfielder, 17 appearances in the Eredivisie, 8 goals and 8 assists. A goal or an assist, 177 minutes per goal as a midfielder. He's also participated in the Champions League, got an assist this season. I don't think there's anything to sit there and to write him off. Will he get into a top 6 team? No, a top 4 team? Probably not, or definitely not. Would he get into, would he walk into our team at the moment? I think so. The only question I have about him is that why has he always been in the Dutch league? Why hasn't he tried himself? And of course, there are those concerns around whether or not he has the ability to transition. But I'm not saying we are Brentford. I'm just saying that we can't sit there and dismiss Brentford's ability to spot talent, because they get it right more often than they don't, far more often than we do. Again, like I say, I'm not saying that he's anywhere near the top of my list. Of course, there's other people miles ahead of him. I'm just putting it out there that if you look at the data and the stats, and if you go and run him through the Y Scout and you look at his everything reel, his different departments of his game, can he operate under close under the press? 100%. Can he control the ball well under tight control? 100%. Can he spring the ball into the channels with accuracy? 100% he can. Is he someone that pops up with goals and creates from the midfield? 100% he can. He's nowhere near the top of my list. I'm just saying that if Tottenham are looking for a relatively cheap option to get us through this sticky period and then go again this summer and maybe then he can move on in a year's time or whatever else, or just give him a chance, I don't see why it would be an absolute nightmare of a situation. Goal creating actions. Literally every game, this man does something that leads to a goal. Not quite. 9 games out of 10, he does something that leads to a goal. 99th percentile. Takes free kicks, takes corners. He also 93rd percentile for things that he does defensively. And that's what I mean. Look at the defensive stuff as well. Dribblers tackled. Dribblers challenged. Clearances, 2.43 clearances a game. He's not someone that just shirks his responsibility. Compare him, by the way, and I'm not trying to talk myself out of a take here, but if we look at Alex Garcia, who we spoke about yesterday, who I'm a massive fan of. All the brilliant passing rate, all that stuff. Doesn't do much in the way of defensive action, right? That's not his job at Leverkusen whatsoever. So if you are going to place him in the middle, you have to have people around him like a Polinia, like a Conor Gallagher to a different extent that can do that kind of hard graft, that work off the ball in the midfield of the park to make sure that he's free to receive the ball in the transition and then put it to where it needs to be. But he is not someone that's going to sit there and win the ball back for you. Whereas Joey Veerman does all of those same things, maybe at a slightly lower standard. By the way, he also wins so much in the air, right? 64.6% of the aerial duels that he gets involved in, he comes out on top. I mean, there really isn't anything to dislike about his stats at all. And he's not someone that really takes players on, so he's not really a ball carrier as much, right? He's not someone that does those things, but we've already got a lot of those players in our squad. So, if we're looking for different profiles, he is someone that I think might not be worth dismissing out of hand. I'm not saying that he's necessarily going to be a huge success in the Premier League. I'm just pointing out that there are, of course, stats can be misleading. 100% stats can be misleading. But I'm just saying that there are players out there that Tottenham Hotspur could be looking at. Now, I wanted to show you the next thing on my list here. This is, we come to this data MB thing quite a lot, right? So let me get rid of Joey Veerman for a minute. At the moment, if not him either, our midfield at the moment looks like this. Pape Sarr, who else is it? Bentancur, Berghvall, and has Gray managed to squeeze on there yet? He's just squeezed on. Okay, he's just got enough data to squeeze on. Right, that's still our midfield, even with the inclusion of Conor Gallagher, right, in the pink. Still, technically, quite a lot of the same sort of profile as we already have. That's what I've been saying to you guys about Conor Gallagher. Whilst I think he's better than, he's a leveler up, we still don't have enough in the way of key passes. We still don't have enough in the way of progressive passes. By the way, Polinia is now out and out the progressive passing champ of our team this season, who has been, I don't know, pigeonholed into this vision that he's the worst passing midfielder that we have. Maybe he is, but he's still progressing the ball more than other players that should be able to do more with that. We still need someone to fill up the rest of that octagon, right? Or that, whatever it is, a heptagon, whatever it's called. You go and get me someone like, and this is where we start to play fun. And we're not going to get him now, but Manu Kone can do those sorts of things, right? He fills up the squad. But actually, if we're looking at players, like I say, here's the guy we've just been looking at. Right? That's Joey Veerman. Gets stuck in defensively. He's got a higher percentage of duels won and almost as high a possession won spot as João Polinia. He has more progressive passes than anybody, more key passes than anybody, more forward passes than anybody. He just doesn't carry the ball as much, but we have enough carriers. We have carriers in Berghvall. We have carriers in Pape Sarr. We have carriers even in Conor Gallagher to a lesser extent. you know. And let's look at Alex Garcia. Let me get rid of some of these now because it's getting a little bit too crowded. I'll get rid of Sarr for a minute. He barely plays. Let me get rid of Berghvall a little bit. Oh, geez. Let's start again. That's Alex Garcia. There's Joey Veerman. And obviously, it's German League versus Dutch League, and it's Leverkusen versus PSV, so it's not a completely fair comparison. But those are the sorts of players that we need. Those are the sorts of players that we need. They come with experience. It's not like they're old, by the way. It's not like they're old. And by the way, plenty of players have left PSV and done very, very well. Ibrahim Sangare, for example, left PSV Eindhoven and went to Nottingham Forest. He was a defensive midfielder. He's done absolutely fine. There was the Malik Tillman, I think his name was at PSV Eindhoven, the right winger. He's done absolutely fine in Italy. Absolutely fine. Been a breath of fresh air in Italy. There's plenty of players that leave the Dutch system having been outperformers there, go to tougher leagues, to better, stronger, capable players to compete with, and absolutely fly and do absolutely fine. So just writing people off because they are in a certain league is silly to me. Doesn't mean that all of them do. And I guess to counter that argument, there's a hell of a lot of players that you can point to that are that came from the Dutch league and flopped hard. So I'm just saying though that there's lots and lots of options out there. Let me come and say hello to the Tillman in Germany now. Is he raised? Is he in Germany? Where did he go in Germany? I forget. He was at PS Tillman. Where did he go? Malik Tillman went. Let's have a look at Malik Tillman. He plays with Bayer Leverkusen now, doesn't he? That's right. But where was he before? He was at PSV Eindhoven, wasn't he? Yeah. He was at PSV Eindhoven until last summer, and he went for 35 million quid. That's it. Leverkusen replaced him when Leverkusen lost a couple of players. Yeah, that's right. You go to Leverkusen, yeah. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Sometimes I make boo-boos. Like yesterday when I said, was it? Well, you guys went mental at me when I dared to say that Akliouche was. Well, first of all, when I said Moroccan, I meant to say Algerian. And then even when I said Algerian, you guys still laughed. No, he's Spanish. He's French, Sean. He's French. All right. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. So, Sean, where are Spurs right now with Leerman? Do you mean Veerman? Oh, I'm not saying there's any links to him. I'm just saying I was looking through the Y Scout trying to find players that we can have a look at. Look, I was doing my digging around on the Y Scout this morning. Is it still there on the screen? Yeah, it is. Doing my digging around on the Y Scout, looking for certain midfielders with pass percentage accuracies and all those sorts of things. And obviously, there's Joey Veerman that popped up number 5 on the list. And I was like, of course, let's go and have a look at him. And obviously, you've got Fabian Ruiz, a wonderful player. You'd do anything. I'd take Fabian Ruiz in a heartbeat. Curtis Jones on the list. Ruben Neves on the list. There's Ibrahim Sangare, that player that I spoke to you about a minute ago that was at PSV Eindhoven before. There's Benacer. I mean, he's getting on. He's 28. I can't believe he's still at Zagreb, though, Benacer. What a player he was. There's Manuel Locatelli, a player that we've spoken about forever. So when you start, and there's Yuri Tillemans, and there, by the way, there is Alex Garcia. So when you start to dial up these stats to what you're looking for, then you see all of the same names that you would expect to see in the ones that we've been looking at. Plus, you see the ones you don't necessarily think of. That's why I'm not sitting in a write off players like Joey Veerman. Harvey Elliott's an interesting one, isn't it? Because his career is just I don't know what's happened since he's gone to Aston Villa, but it's a real shame. Obviously, you take Frankie de Jong, you're never going to get him. You take Fernandes, you're never going to get him. You take Pedro, you're never going to get him. Obviously. Lee Kang-in, interesting player, although I think of Lee Kang-in more as a right winger than I do as a centre midfielder, but I guess he can play in that role. The other thing that's quite interesting about this, right, when you start to dial all these filters up, have a look here, right? Notice this. There is very few, apart from players like obviously Pedri, right, but there's very few young guys that appear on this list. Most of the midfielders in the game, in the world football, that have incredibly high acumen of pass accuracy and distribution and, through balls and progressive passes and all the things that are connect the dot maestros, the conductors of how the pace of the game should work. There's very few of them that are coming up that are like 18, 19, 20, 21. It just doesn't really happen. Here's a player from Sporting who's quite handy. I like the look of him when I ran him through the Y Scout. De Bast. I'm not sure he's ready. I'm not sure he would actually make it in the Premier League. Probably not, from what I've seen so far. This is a guy, Aslani. I'm pretty sure Aslani's about to leave. I think he's going somewhere else. But anyway, for what it's worth, like most of the players, most of the names that you see here are getting, 27, 28 or beyond. There's a few players that are in like their 30s, like Koke at Atletico Madrid, for example, who's part of the reason. His Indian summer is part of the reason why players from. Part of the reason why Conor Gallagher's not getting the minutes at Atletico Madrid and why he's had to come here. So it's just interesting that people think, oh, you can't get these guys. Yeah, Højbjerg's on that list as well, Desto. Højbjerg's on that list. Hey, listen, if Pierre-Emile Højbjerg had pace about him, if he had half a yard extra pace, he would have been, an amazing player. He was just a little bit too slow, or at least a little bit too slow for the way we were trying to play at the time. But I actually always rated Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. His best ability was his availability, but he was certainly someone that could progress the ball, chipped in with goals. He was a leader. I think he should have been, arguably, if it wasn't for the fact that Harry Kane was there at the time and Hugo Lloris, I think he could have and should have been the next captain of the football club after they left. Obviously, he left and we made some decent return of money on him. But there are some... that's just the way it is, right? Sometimes you have to make decisions around moving people on. Anyway, just wanted to point that out, that if you're looking for creative passers, if you're looking for someone that can get on the ball and shift it, then don't expect to find that in an 18, 19, 20-year-old or even a 21, 22-year-old. The stats just don't support that. I think it's something that players get better at with age and they get more consistent with because they become more experienced. And so that's why when you really look for the fine-tuned details, if you're looking for players that are 92% pass accuracy, 90% pass accuracy, that can do medium, long, and short, that can really switch the play, all of those things, the younger the player, the more erratic they are with their decision making, which is another reason why when we write players like Berghvall off and say he's not a passer of the ball, or players like Pape Sarr, who give the ball away too much, they absolutely do, but maybe their inconsistencies with their passing, their vulnerabilities with their passing come from inexperience and come from having rushes of blood or just not enough minutes on the park in their or minutes in their legs over their career where they know how to really control the game and control the tempo. It's just I wasn't aware of it, but when I looked through it and I've dialed those numbers back and forth to get a different array of players rather than filtering everybody out from one set. I've looked at 10 or 12 different iterations, but it's the same consistent theme that most of the good passers of the ball that are out there are slightly older. There are some absolutely top passers. Of course, it's not like settled science. Pedri being one of them at 23 is one of the best in the world at it. But that's why he's one of the best in the world as well, because he's one of the most valuable players in the world, because he has all that time on his side. Sarr is a grown 24 hours old man. Yeah, I know. Is he 24 now? I thought he was 23. Is he Pape Sarr? Let's have a look. He's 23. He's 23. He's only been 23 for a couple of months as well. Don't write him off. But muscle memory, 100%. Let's do a little couple of super chilly chit chats, and then we will get into it. Oh, we got some super stickers. Big up to you, Ulrika Ratatata car. How you doing, Ulrika? Hope you're okay. Hope you keep yourself out of trouble. Thank you very much. To you. As you train, you get the first super sticker choo-choo noise. Love you for it. Thank you very much, Ulrika. Appreciate you. Let's also pivot to Dino. Chudini, big up to you. Choo-choo to you, Dino. I hope you're okay as well, my man. Hope you're okay as well, buddy. Always here, always supporting Bourbon Buzzard as well, mate. Thank you very much indeed for yours. Choo-choo to you, buddy. Choo-choo to you. And Leroy JM, big up to you, my man. Haven't seen your name before, I don't think. But big up to you, my man. Nice icon, nice picture. Love that. Very professional, Leroy. Big up to you, buddy. Thank you very much. Choo-choo to you as well. So, what's this? Sean, make sure you are not mixing progressive passes and passing percentage with chance creation. A DM should be the most progressive and have the highest pass percentage, and it gets lower the more you go forward. Well, yeah, of course, I'm not mixing them up. I know that. But
actually, that's not always necessarily the case. It depends on what the DM's role is. If the DM is switching the play into the channels, then those things aren't necessarily going to be as highly accurate. Depends on the sort of style of football as well. There's lots of context to that communication, but I definitely take your point, 100%. I thought that was a joke about how skinny he is. Who are we talking about? Sean, can you Y-Scout Josip Stanisic? Yeah. Uno secondo. What is he? A versatile right back that can play centre back. Where does he play? Bayern Munich. 25 years old. Oh, Stanisic. Sorry, of course. Can't really show you the clips on him. It might be just easier just to look at him on the Stanisic FB refs. I'll take a look at him though for you. What are you suggesting that we get him? Here he is. Here's your man. Bosh. Versus fullbacks. Yeah, cracking passing stats. Sticks the ball 74% long, so you'd like to chip it in. Progressive passes 6.94. Progressive passes, that's interesting, right? Progressive passes 6.94 for fullbacks. I always think that fullbacks should have more progressive passes than any other position on the park, because they're naturally the people that bring the ball out of defence, aren't they, most of the time? Doesn't do a hell of a lot of defending, but then he plays for Bayern Munich. I'll run him through the Y-Scout, mate, and have a look see at him and see if is there anything particularly you wanted to know about him. Rangers got Skov Olsen, my man, Scovy Olsen. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the old firm to see how he gets on. I like him a lot. I really do. Really, really do. Can your tool highlight the top championship players stat wise? Yeah, it can. Yeah, we can do a championship gem finder session if you want at some point. 100%. All right, let's talk about this Alonso story. So, it came out yesterday. And in fact, let me just do this. There's a couple of super chats here first. Subdan, big up to you, my man. Minus 27 degrees this morning, hoping for a 2-game win streak. We need a 1-game win streak first, mate. To be honest, I'd be happy with a 45 minutes win streak at the moment. Oh, actually, we did. We won the second half against Villa, didn't we? That's true. We did win the second half. Yeah, let's just start with 90 minutes, all right? The beggars can't be choosers. Start with 90 minutes, Sub Dan. I hope you're okay, mate. Keep him warm. It's a nice day in London today. Well, it's a nice day where I am anyway. A little bit wet outside. It pissed down all night, like it did in my front room when my radiator leaked. Is Scott Olsen playing with Micky more? Yeah, I think so, Sean. I think so, mate. I think so. Andy Lester says, thanks for all the top content, Sean. Who is next in? Well, the next two that are officially going to come in, obviously, I think are going to be Sousa and Conor Gallagher. After that, who knows? There really isn't enough links out there. It's driving me up the wall. Let's check transfer feed for see if there's any ones that I've missed this morning. I don't think there really isn't that many links out there. And this is why it's it's Johan Lang that's pulling the strings, because Tottenham for the longest time now have been someone that it springs out of nowhere. 1 hour ago, according to Team Talk, Real Madrid could now face significant competition from Liverpool for the signing of Tottenham's Micky van der Ven, which will be interesting. A lot of the links today, again, a lot of the links in the last few hours are all about players leaving. Still the links for Radu Dragusin leaving the football club persist. Oscar Bob is still being mentioned as a potential inquiry. It's been mentioned all over the Norwegian media as well. I don't know if they're any closer to the story. I would expect Oscar Bob to leave Manchester City this January, having seen how well Semenyo seems to have started, right? He should have had 2 goals last night, got a goal in his debut in the FA Cup. in that 9-1 routing of whoever they played. I forget who they played. Obviously, it's not the Premier League, but against Newcastle, away at Newcastle, great start for him. So I would imagine that Oscar Bob is going to leave now, knowing that Savio's injured. Would Tottenham take him? I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it. I think the guy's got bundles of talent. I don't think he's going to necessarily like satisfy a lot of people, though. I think people are going to sit there and make out like he's unproven. I think he is unproven in the Premier League, but he certainly has handled himself when he has played in the Premier League. I've got no issues at all. Exeter, that wasn't it? Exeter, that's it. Cure for life. Big up to you. What's the chances of someone like Charles to Catalier? What a player he is. What a player he is. He's versatile as well. Can play in the 10, can play in the 9, can play off the right, and has also played on the right-hand side of a more advanced double pivot when Atalanta play in a back three. One of the Club Brugge guys, right? How many times do Club Brugge create talent and they fail? They don't. It doesn't happen. Every player that leaves Club Brugge in the last 4 years that I can remember go on to have fantastic careers. There's another one, Joel Ordonay, who's their centre-back, is probably going to end up going to Liverpool. I think he is someone that's going to be a name that we'll all be talking about for years. I think he's a brilliant, brilliant player. And they're looking at this guy, them, Brentford and Brighton. No, sorry, them, Brentford and Bournemouth and Brighton. So Brugge, Brentford, Brighton and Bournemouth, all the Bs, are looking at a guy called Iago. Is it Iago? Is it Iago from Flamengo? Let me have a look. Iago Flamengo. Yeah, that's right. A centre-back who's 20 years old, big guy, 6'3", strapping strong, and he's being linked with a few of the teams in the Premier League that are all known for their data model, and Brugge, who's known for their data model. And I don't know, I just kind of sit there and think, like, at Tottenham, if Iago's going to leave Flamengo for, say, 10 million, 12 million euros, you just know that in 2 years' time, everybody is going to be looking to buy him for 40, 50 million, right? So why don't you just get in front of it? If there is a link that's out there to a player like him, you almost don't even have to go and Y-scout him. You almost don't even have to bother, because if those 4 teams are all in a bidding war for the guy, you just know what's going to happen. Just get in front of it. Just get in front of it. Sometimes I just genuinely wish that Tottenham would just look at transfer feed and go and monitor whoever Brugge's looking at, Brighton, Brentford and Bournemouth, and kind of go, if they're young, we should probably bring them in. All the data guys missed Sousa. Yeah. That's because he's only played 26 games of professional football in his career. And in the 2 seasons before, from the age of 17 to 19, he's been injured for more of the season than he hasn't been injured. So we'll have to see. Yeah, hijack it and let Dragu move on. I don't know what Dragusin is thinking about. Like, we can't let him go, and just because he wants to play minutes. I was saying this on Sabbath's show last night. Like, you do have to kind of, you have to question the meritocracy at Tottenham at times. Romero has been bang average. Micky van der Ven's been very good this season, and we don't really have a natural left-footed, left-sided centre-back. So if and when he gets injured, we're going to have to shoehorn somebody over there like Kevin Danso. And when Kevin Danso played on the left-hand side against Newcastle away from home in the Carabao Cup, he looked all out of sorts. The one really abject performance from Kevin Danso this season was when he was playing out of position on the left-hand side. And I remember Ange Postecoglou saying, if you're a defender, you can defend either side. I don't buy into that personally. I know he knows more football. He's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. So I'm not sitting there challenging his intellect on it, but I just disagree with the opinion, because I think that if you are defending and you're moved from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, everything kind of is inverted. Not only on the ball do you have to, if you're not left-footed, you're closing your body off to the natural pass to your left back, which is more difficult. But on top of that, you're facing more balls from the right-hand side, or there's more people going to be in front of you and fewer people behind you when people are crossing you from that side. And conversely, if people are crossing you from the left-hand side, as you look at the pitch, there's going to be fewer people in front of you than you're used to and more people behind you, and that can throw out your positioning. So I think that it is important that we get a left-footed, left-sided centre-back to come in. And I think that having all these right-footers in our defence is problematic for balance. And I think it's problematic for positional security and confidence in how it is that you approach the set pieces, for example, or just open play. I think it is a problem. But anyway, so if Radu Dragusin's right-footed and wants to play in front of Romero, my point being about the meritocracy is I personally just don't think that there is a meritocracy at Tottenham Hotspur. I think that there's been some players this season that put in absolute stinkers and there's no consequences for their underperformance. Romero only has a break when he's suspended or when he's picked up a knock or something like that. Danso comes in. For me, Danso's been absolutely fine. There's been absolutely no difference. I'd make the argument that Danso's actually been more secure when played on the right-hand side in place of Romero than Romero has. He was the best defender on the park against Aston Villa, but you know that now Romero's his ban is up, that he's going to come straight back in. Again, people will challenge this opinion as just being, oh, you're always talking about Romero, you're scapegoating. I'm not. I'm just talking about the fact that there are no consequences for underperformance on any level at Tottenham Hotspur. There's certain players that will start every week in, week out, as long as they're available and fit. And there's other players that will always be on the bench, regardless of how well they do. And I don't know what sort of message that sends to players like Kevin Danso. It doesn't matter how well I do. There's no such thing as me taking my chance to get an extended run in the team. Because when I do play well, I'm straight back on the bench once the guy who's considered number one is back and in front of me. And if people were telling me you can't make the argument that Romero is anything, or that Danzo's anything like as good as Romero, then I would say on paper, no, of course, Romero is a World Cup winner. But actually, in terms of who looks more engaged, who looks more invested, who looks more secure, I think on this season's performances, I'd say that there's absolutely no difference. I think that Danso actually edges Romero. I think it's a problem. And I think maybe Radu Dragusin, as much as I don't think that he should be, via his agent, complaining about a lack of minutes when he's been out injured for 9 months, 10 months, whatever. I think he needs to, shut up and play, like, be a part of the squad. Other bigger teams manage to keep everybody happy through rotation. Whilst I don't think he should be expecting more than he's getting at this stage, I also can empathize or sympathize with his thought processes if he's looking at the team right now and saying, the only way I'm ever going to get any minutes in the team here is if Romero and or Micky van der Ven get injured. And if it's Micky van der Ven, then I'm going to be playing out of position. So I'll be judged on for my performances in an awkward situation. And at least for the right side, he's behind Danso in the pecking order, probably because Danso hasn't done anything wrong, and therefore it's reasonable to think that Danso's ahead of him in the pecking order right now. But if Romero is always going to get straight back into the team just because he's Romero, then you could understand why Radu Dragusin might be sitting there going, "This is too important. I've got too few minutes on my clock so far in my relatively young career. They haven't really given me an extended run of games. Yes, there's the injury, but ultimately, is anything going to change whilst Romero's here?" And I think that there's an argument to say, no, it won't. And I think that's problematic. I really do. I think that there needs to be consequences for your actions in life. I think if you speak out of turn, I think you should be, or you show some sort of disciplinary or unprofessionalism, like I believe that Romero has done, and Porro, and to a lesser extent Porro and Richalison, because they didn't say it, but they did at least publicly acknowledge it and applaud it. I think that those things need to be addressed. I think that Jed Spence should have been punished for throwing his shirt on the ground and for disobeying or dismissing it publicly and disrespecting, I think is the right word, the way that he dismissed Thomas Frank. Same with Destiny Udogie. And I think the absence of those consequences leads to an imbalance in the mindset of the players. I think the players believe that they are the people with power, and I don't think there's a lot of respect because Thomas Frank has been unwilling to chastise or scold them. And I think that is part of the reason why there's no respect at the football club for the hierarchy. It shouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen at other clubs. Could you ever imagine Alex Ferguson being ignored by Jaap Stam or Gary Neville? Could you ever imagine that happening in a month of Sundays? I couldn't. I think it looks terrible. But so Joey Veerman was one of the stories. Curtis Jones was another. In other news, guys, for the channel, for you guys to chew over, Alejo Veliz, still Tottenham player on loan currently over back in Argentina. Well, according to journalist Cesar Luis Merlo, who works for UOL, that there is interest from Brazil, interest from Flamengo earlier this month, but now it's Bahia, or Bahia, I don't know how you say that, owned by City Football Group, which oversees the Manchester City stable, who want to sign the Tottenham player on a permanent transfer in the winter market. Just as a reminder, we signed Veliz for over £10 million. Is it 12 million euros or something like that? From Rosario Central in 2022. He didn't settle in at Tottenham, went out on loan to Seville and to Espanyol in the next 18 months. He's now 22 years old. He wasn't able to impress in Spain, decided to return to Rosario Central in July. And since then, the striker has scored 5 goals and contributed 1 assist from 16 matches for the Argentine club. This guy, Merlo, claims that Bahia have made an offer to sign the Spurs-owned player. The offer is, quote, quite high, without a figure being mentioned. And there's an agreement in principle with Thomas Frank's side. So he's gone. So we might be able to get, I don't know, 5 or 6 million back on him, hopefully. The Argentine is terrible, says Mustang X. Mustang X. All you gotta do is ride around X. Love your work, Sean. I'm off to bed. Big up to you, Rays. Big up to you, my man. Please do smash the like, guys, if you haven't already. Smash the subscribe. There's over 1,000 people in the chat for a Wednesday lunchtime. It's lovely to see. Andy Lester has said, he said this already. Thanks for all the top content, Sean. Who is next in? Listen, I don't know. I personally think that, 10 million euros apparently, is it? Well done, Lukey. Well done, Lukey. Big up to you, my man. Big up to you, buddy. What was I going to say? Am I on the side up? No. This is day 3, no alcohol. Day 3, no alcohol for Butler. I'm going to try and go the rest of January. I'm going to try and basically do dry January. I doubt I'll survive, but I doubt I'll make it. But I'm going to try and go the equivalent of dry January. So I'm going to go until February the 10th or something if I can. It would be good to lose a little bit of weight and all that stuff. Desperate situation. Here's Foxy. Big up to you, Foxy. Knows everything about everything. They need to look elsewhere. They should be getting Jada Asprilla instead. Who the fuck is Jada Asprilla? Is that Faustino Asprilla's son or something? Let's have a look. Is it Jada Asprilla? Mate, where do you get the time to be? It must be. Is it Faustino Asprilla? Is Jada Asprilla Faustino Asprilla's son? No, he's not. A forward for Atletico Nacional. And Yasser Asprilla, a midfielder for Girona FC in the Colombian national team, both share the same surname and come from the same region of Colombia as Faustino Asprilla, but they are not related by blood. Interesting. So the Asprillas are like the Smiths or something, are they? In Colombia. Very, very interesting. How to go for days without alcohol? I don't know, mate. I listen. I'm a functioning. I drink every day generally, which isn't good. So I'm trying to give my liver a breather, you know. Anyway, Tom Allnut has said that we have identified the need for a creative passer from deep, but whether such a key signing can be made in January or has to be deferred to the summer remains to be seen. Listen, I think we need it. I genuinely do. Let's look at this again, right? Just little reminder, right? This is our current midfield. And I'm not saying that Gallagher. I like Conor Gallagher. I think he's really going to work. But that is his heat map. Okay, so let's just have a look. Right, not too dissimilar to Pape Sarr. Get rid of Pape Sarr for a second. Berghvall carries ball a bit more, but when Conor Gallagher pushes the ball forward, right, he does it very well. He just doesn't do it very often. Likes to win the ball back. Okay, but who else are you putting in there? Bentancur. It doesn't really solve at least the version of him that is on the Atletico Madrid. And again, you have to bake in the context of the way that Simone plays football at Atletico Madrid, which isn't necessarily, it's very solid and organized and disciplined, but it's also very restrictive in some of its facets, right? So I'm just saying that if we're building this out, Sarr's coming back, right? Bissouma is irrelevant because I don't think he's even played. Would he be on there? No. See, that's last season's Bissouma rather than this season's Bissouma. But even then, right, like it leaves a lot to be desired in terms of filling out the system. So, like for me, listen, whether it can be done in January or done in the summer, obviously it's more difficult to do things in January. And every day that goes on, it's increasingly more and more difficult because you're never going to get the time for the other team to be able to find their replacement. But if Tottenham have ambitions to try to qualify for Europe this season, then they need to resolve it. I think a lot of people are saying, myself included, I think the season's done because I just don't think we're consistent enough to be able to realistically push. But at the end of the day, if we just have a quick look-see at the Premier League, right? We're in 14th at the moment. How many of these games could have been won, by the way, if we just thrown a bit more caution to the wind? But if we can, I'm not speaking too soon here, but if we can beat West Ham and Burnley, obviously we've got a horrendous February coming up. Then that's an extra 6 points, and we obviously have to beat West Ham and Burnley. Anything less than that, and the guy has to go. In my opinion, 6 points or sack him. That's kind of where I'm at because it's just unacceptable to. I don't care where you are at in the process, the project. You shouldn't be anywhere other than 3 points against West Ham and Burnley every season, whoever the manager is. If you were the manager, I would expect you to be able to walk into that dressing room and motivate those players to outplay. All you have to do is when you're playing against Burnley and West Ham and teams like that, when the team of talent that we have is say, guys, just fucking play football. Just get the ball and play, right? You haven't even got to instruct certain things, in my opinion. Just go and play and you should be able to walk them off the park. Anyway, if you can get those 6 points, look, top 5 this season is going to be Champions League, right? At the moment, that's occupied by Brentford, and Brentford are only 6 points ahead of us, right? So it really isn't, the season isn't a write-off. And by the way, obviously you get the Europa League goes to 6th. If someone who wins the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup are both in all likelihood going to already be in the Champions League, then 7th place will also get the Europa League spot. And then 8th place, in all likelihood, would get the Conference League, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there's any chance it can drop to 9. I don't think so. If someone in the chat can let me know, is there any chance that 9th place can actually qualify for the Conference League? I don't think it's the case, but just let me know. I think that's the case if the winner is that the case if the winner of the Conference League is also already occupying a Europa League spot. Is that how it works? I forget. But anyway. Let's assume 8th, right? Let's assume that 8th would get you Conference League. No, I don't want Conference League, but I think if Tottenham qualified for it, then we could go and win that competition next year, and that's still a European competition. It's not much to write home about. It's something to celebrate, etc. If we could do it, I actually think that as well. I think if we got back into the Europa League, we could have a good crack next season. So trying to force our way into Europe is actually really important. Obviously, the Champions League from a financial perspective is really important, but at the same time, look, we've got enough room on our PSR, and these owners allegedly have told us all that they're willing to put their money in. So if that's the case, then the Champions League revenue, whilst additional to that, is also unnecessary because we have enough wiggle room on our PSR to be able to spend money that the owners can add to the coffers. And we're still waiting to see more of the colour of their money in that regard. But so we're only 4 points off of Chelsea right now. We should have been a lot closer. We didn't need to. We didn't need to lose against Bournemouth. Obviously, that was unfortunate, I think, but I thought we played well. We certainly didn't need to draw the 2 games before that against Brentford and who was it? Who was the other one? Brentford and Palace. Was it Brentford and Palace? Who was the other game? Oh, look, my memory's so terrible. Bournemouth. Oh, what's going on here? Sunderland, that was it. Sunderland. Yeah. So maybe we go Europa League and win it again, says Alex. Yeah, listen, don't see why not. Appreciate you, Spurs Nepal. Always listening, always here to support. By the way, guys, the rabbit hole ramblings are coming back. They're coming back. My energy levels have returned. I'm hoping to do one tonight. So if you haven't already and you're interested in that sort of fun, political, conspiracy content, all that sort of thing, we'd really appreciate the subs over there. People that have already joined love it. They always ask me, can we when we doing the next one? I think it's coming back tonight, guys. So sorry for the delay in that one. I'll take the Conference League, says Silly Singularity. I don't want no Conference League, says Beyond 72. What odds would you need to bet on Spurs to win the Champions League? I'd have a fiver on it if it was 80 to 1, 70 to 1, something like that. Anything above that, and you'd see some value. It's not going to happen, but the risk reward is probably worth it above 50, 60 to 1. What is the price point of Tottenham to win the Champions League odds? Here we go. Is it on the screen? Yep. Tottenham to win it. There you go. 50 to 1. Oh, the best price you can get is 66 to 1. There you go. Jeez. Just my natural betting intuition tells me what the right price point is. Never going to happen, though, is it? Where are we in the favourites? So Arsenal first, favourites. Bayern Munich, Man City. I hate the fact that you see Arsenal there. Favourites, man. Bayern Munich, City, PSG, Barca, Liverpool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Real Madrid, 7th. Chelsea, 8th. Inter Milan, 9th. 10th, 11th. We're 12th favourite. We're 12th favourite. So by that rationale, we should be getting to the last 16. Which we will do if we beat Dortmund and Frankfurt. If we beat Dortmund and Frankfurt, I'm pretty sure that means we're pretty much guaranteed. I think we are guaranteed because there's teams ahead of us that can't get 6 points because they have to play each other, for example. Give you 150 to 1, Sean. How much do you want to put on it? I'll put a fiver on. This club. 20 years, 150 to 1. This club. These are owners. The same thing. Yeah, I'll put a fiver on it, mate. You want to take my money? Give me a fiver. By the way, for those of you that were calling out, that's why it's the other thing I haven't spoken about. It's the other thing I haven't spoken about. For those of you that were calling me out, next Tottenham manager odds. Butler, you're such a clickbait merchant. You're such a clickbait merchant. Look who it is. Xabi Alonso is 4 to 1. Glasner 5 to 1. Silva 6 to 1. Enzo Maresca 8 to 1. Pochettino, by the way, you can get 16 to 1 on. Do you know what? That's not a bad price, is it? And then all you got to do, you put like 50 quid on that. Not bad, eh? Not bad. 800 quid. And all you got to hope is that Thomas Frank doesn't get sacked before the end of the season. Xabi was 5 to 1 yesterday. Listen, I'll tell you what, I might have 20 quid on Pochettino there. That 16 to 1 is quite crazy. 16 to 1. Means nothing. Frank is secure, says Ash. Maybe. Possibly. Are we having that fiver? Are we having that fiver, Kixie? Come on then. So this is my point. 5 or 6 players plus time to gel versus the impact of Xabi Alonso. What's the bigger impact? Why can't you get both? The only thing, I don't think we have a squad that Xabi Alonso would really like to work with, you know. I'm not, but he's not the same. It's not the same as like Xavi Hernandez. Not the same as Xavi Hernandez, where Hernandez only plays a tick-attacker football, and like we'd have to completely change our entire squad to be able to do that, in my opinion. Or you'd have to be incredibly patient for him to be able to implement and get some sort of, chemistry and wavelength flying, because we just don't have that. We have too many runners, not enough passes. But who are you putting in our first 11 in Alonso's system? What? Okay, let me just organize this redirect. I would. I don't know. Like, I don't think it necessarily changes too much, right? He still plays a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, but it's just his sort of style of football is less defensive, isn't it? It's more, it's more progressive, more possession based, more attractive, free flowing, intricate stuff. But I don't think he's particularly gung ho. I don't think he's like I just think that I don't think necessarily that we have those sorts of players that are going to be able to do, really intricate, lovely football. I think that's part of the concern for me. Part of the concern. Trying to think of a goal that I saw last night that was absolutely sensational. Was it last night? Was it Manchester City's goal? Was it Manchester City's? No, whose goal was it? Whose goal was it I saw? And it was just unbelievable. I can't think who it was. His main tactic from a back three at Leverkusen days. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was fantastic with Jonah Tah, wasn't he? And Hincapie. He had a fantastic defense. Frimpong. He had, was it? No, it wasn't Alphonso Davies. Who was the left back that he played with at Leverkusen? He had an unbelievable. Was it the Man City goal yesterday? I can't think. Yeah, the Cherky goal. The Cherky goal from City. That's it. Unbelievable. The Cherky goal was so good, so nice. Unbelievable stuff. Grimaldo, that was it. Grimaldo was the other right back, wasn't it? Oh, left back, sorry. Nick ZK says, Sean, I'll be the first to apologise if I'm wrong, but mark this comment. Frank will prove you wrong. Give the bloke some time, like you just mentioned, for alternative managers. No, I've never said that I'm Frank out. I just don't think he's the guy. But I've also said that there's no point in sacking him to bring in an interim for 6 months or whatever. It's the same. I mean, it's a slightly different situation with Amorim, because Amorim called out the board and there's consequences for calling out the board. And then they don't want to bring in their guy yet because they're not sure who it is, and they're giving Michael Carrick a chance. But ultimately, I'd be very surprised if Carrick does well enough for him to get the full gig. So it's probably going to be Glasner. So it's a slightly different scenario there. But like, if you were to sack Thomas Frank now, and then you wanted to bring in Pochettino in the summer, then you have to find someone to take over for the next 6 months. But the likelihood is that when you sack Thomas Frank, the people that came in with him are also going to leave. So you're going to have to sack Cochrane and all of the other staff that came, and that to me is A, it's going to be very expensive, and B, it means that, are you really going to bring in, like, I don't know, let's just say, for example, you were to bring in, it's never going to happen, but just for want of a better example, Harry Redknapp, right? Or Glenn Hoddle or whoever. Never going to happen, but just as an example, just insert whoever there. You've also got to find them coaches as well to work with for the next 6 months. So that's going to be an effort. That's going to be hard. Who's going to be doing that? Johan Lang in the middle of a transfer window when he's still apparently trying to find 4 or 5 other players? It's too much chaos. It's too much mess. All to then change again and do the same thing again with Pochettino in the summer, or whoever it would be then. It's just like, at the moment, like I say, the season isn't over. There's still a lot to play for in the league. If you lose to West Ham or Burnley, though, I do think that those sorts of, after a while, the kind of give him time thing starts to become inexcusable. Like, you can't really allow. I don't think there's any real actual jeopardy of relegation at all. I think that it's far too far. Let's have a look back at the league table again. Yeah, I don't personally believe isn't it on the screen? No, hang on. I don't personally believe that that there's any chance we get relegated, right? But just for what it's worth, I look up and say we're only 6 points off 5th. We're only 12 points off of the relegation zone. It really is quite a crazy league. There's so many draws. I've never seen as many draws. Look at that in the last 5 games, right? Just look at that in the last 5 games. How it's madness. The second best team in the league has drawn the last 3 games. The 4th best team in the league has drawn 3 of the last 5. The 7th best team has drawn 3 of the last 5. The 8th best has drawn 3 of the last 5 and lost 2 of them. Unbeaten in no wins in 5. Fulham have drawn 2. Sunderland have drawn 4. Brighton have drawn 3. It's draws FC. Leeds have drawn 3. Tottenham have drawn 2. And like, it's not like they're winning the others, right? Like it's just everyone is capable of getting points of everybody. Yes, at the top end, you're seeing more greens than reds. And at the bottom, you're seeing more reds than greens. But across the table, it's just insane how many draws there are. Like if you were betting on the pools back in the day where you had to pick the score draws, there'd be a lot of people that would be making a lot of money. But the league is poor. But I also think it's actually it's like a poor standard of football because football's become robotic, right? It's become so boring. It's become all about, like phases of play and set pieces and looking for those incremental margins, but they come at the absence of actually throwing caution to the wind. Nobody wants to lose. Everybody's looking to kind of nullify the opposition. It becomes really, really boring. But because it's so tight, at the same time, it means that everybody's still in with a shout of Europe for the most part. Everybody is still, Arsenal for me are probably, I hate to say it, but I think they are going to run away because it is like they seem to they've got enough depth, they've got more than enough depth, but it's going to take Manchester City to really go on one hell of a run, and having that Semenyo start and acclimate and assimilate quickly is really going to help him and help them. But my point being, why are we talking about managers? Well, we're talking about managers because for me, like I say, I don't think that you can, like, the cost and the chaos of trying to replace Thomas Frank now during a transfer window is crazy. I've also heard rumors, someone put in a comment, because I said on my video last night, I'm not sure what's true in this one, but there's people out there that are saying that Conor Gallagher Thomas Frank didn't want Conor Gallagher. There's people out there that are saying that Conor Gallagher only came to Tottenham after he had assurances that Thomas Frank would be the manager. There's people out there that are saying that that Paratici never wanted Conor Gallagher. Paratici never wanted Thomas Frank. There's just every single opinion, every single take on anything at Tottenham. There's supposed ITKs that are saying this side of the story is true, and then there's other ITKs that are saying that side of the story is true. Who the hell knows? But ultimately, for me, the situation is as follows. Like, I just think after 30 odd games of managing your team, if you still can't get them to play football, then there's a problem. And I also think that if you were to lose to West Ham and Burnley, then I don't know. I think that at some point you have to sort of shake hands with this, that the performances are unacceptable. There's lots of rumours that the players are unhappy with the sort of football that they're being asked to play. And as I say, I think that there's demonstrations of that. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But there's lots of palpable bubbling up at the surface, little incidents and demonstrations from the players that they're not happy. It's an unhappy dressing room. It's an unhappy environment. And there's a little bit of a lack of respect towards the manager. And I think those things are important to be aware of and acknowledge. And the decision-making at the top, whether it's Vinay or Johan Lack, whoever it is that's kind of that's overseeing these things, they have to be aware of these things, but they have to have the stones to actually to nip certain problems in the bud. And if they don't, then I think these problems will continue. As I say, if you lose to West Ham, then they're only 10 points behind with 17 games left, 16 games left. You know? And Bournemouth are capable of overcoming us. And Nottingham Forest have got a team that if they were actually to figure it out, I don't know if they will, but they're a team that has the ability to close the gap. They're only 6 points behind. Yeah, it's not completely without, out of the realms of possibility that we could get drawn into something here. I don't think we will. I think it's more likely that we're going to start to play better football and actually start to get on the right side of results, because we're starting to see those green shoots. We're starting to see the foundations of actually playing football. What I'm unimpressed with is how long it's taken to get here. and also the fact that we can't do it for more than 45 minutes. But at least there has been some sort of demonstration, some sort of improvement in that regard, and I think that's something that we should all hope that that's going to manifest into something better. What you guys saying in the chat? I'm going to be going for another sort of 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to hand you over, guys. Stay with you. I'm going to put you on to Sava. Sava's going live in about 10 minutes, I think. So I will send you across to him just as soon as I finish wrapping up. Connor's in the house. Big up to you, Connor. If you send me your link, Connor, to your what's it called? The whistle blows. Right, here we go, guys. I fucked this up the other day. I love Connor and I love Billy T. Let me see if I can get it right this time. YouTube.com/the whistle blows. There is I think that is the link for Connor and Billy's new YouTube channel. So if you guys are looking to show some love, then show some love towards Connor and Billy. They're starting their channel. I think their first show is in a couple of days, or maybe tonight. I'm not sure. What do I mean? He is not the guy. Who do I think is not the guy? Thomas Frank. I haven't been impressed with his demeanor. I haven't been impressed with his appetite for risk. I haven't been impressed with his ambition. I think some people dress it up as honesty, but I think it could also be, it could also come across as unambitious and a little bit of, I don't know. I think he just has a level of expectation, or I think he's satisfied by not losing, and that's probably why he was pretty good at Brentford, because he took a team that was never going to achieve much more than what he did and made them pretty good at being okay. Whereas we're looking for a guy that wants to take a sleeping giant of a football club to be back to where we were under Pochettino and hopefully one step further. And I just don't think he's the guy to do that. I also don't think he's the guy to manipulate the minds of the players into believing in themselves and to motivate them to be able to play out above their level. If you think back to Tottenham, really, right, when Tottenham were a bigger club than we are in terms of successes, we were never a league team. We were always in the 90s and 80s, and certainly, we got to better positions under Pochettino, a second place finish, two third place finishes, but we never really competed for the league, really, right? Whereas what we did do, we got to a lot of finals and a lot of semi-finals of cups, and obviously historically we won 8 or 9 FA Cups and a couple of Carabao Cups and the Europa League and the yada yada yada. Well, what does that mean? It means that you have to be able to balance through the variance of cup football. And it means that when it comes to the big occasion, you need someone who can motivate you to get the best out of you. And one thing I'll say about Ange Postecoglou was he absolutely knew the right words in the right order to be able to get the best kind of, I don't know, the best outcomes, right? He could send a chill down your spine when he gave his speeches. Like, he was absolutely fantastic at it. His pacing, his cadence of his talks, the way he would motivate. And I think a lot of people bought into that stuff, which is what you need in the big games. Yes, you need to have implemented your thesis, your theories, your identity, the culture, all of those things that needs to come out every day on the training ground, and people need to believe and buy into that. But that's one part of the job. For the big occasion, when you're in a final, probably against a team that's at least your match, if not more superior in terms of squad quality, then you need to find a way to get these guys to go, I'm going to go to war for you today, and I'm going to go to war for the people on the team next to me, and they're going to go to war for me. That Al Pacino, Any Given Sunday speech, right? You have to claw with your fingernails. That one. I don't think that Thomas Frank has got that. I never have. I don't think he could inspire me to put the kettle on. And that is, yeah, I hear you, Stretch. Every game is a big game. Shouldn't need an Ange speech. Yeah, but for the big games, the one where you get to lift the trophy at the end of it, you need a big game speech. And I would imagine that even though that final was the worst final in the history of finals, it was absolutely terrible. 2 terrible teams playing terrible football. And it was an own. I still don't even know if our boy Brennan Johnson got the nick on it. I know there's no snickometer in football, so we'll never know. But I think deep down he knows that he didn't touch it, You said the same about Ange. No, what I said about Ange was, I didn't say what I said. Ange is the guy before the guy, but I didn't know that Ange was the guy when I said that. I said whoever it was that was coming in after Conte Stellini, I said whoever that guy is won't be the guy. He'll probably be the guy before the guy because he was inheriting a philosophy of the football club that had pivoted towards youth-centric transfer strategies. And unfortunately, those things take time to bleed, take time to bed in, rather. And so the person, if whoever the next guy is, I said, if that guy gets 3 years, he probably won't see the best of these players. And Ange Postecoglou said so himself 3/4 of the way through his first season. He said, I hope that I'm still here to be the beneficiary of the maturing version of Berghvall, the maturing version of Archie Gray. You know, and he wasn't. But actually, as it turned out, Ange was the guy in terms of getting the trophy over the line. I just don't think he was the guy for me because I lost faith with his double speak in press conferences. He became so defensive and everything was about, you know, sort of misdirection and wordplay to try to get around the scrutiny of the press, that I remembered what he said when he said about title challenges. And he always tried to claim, you know, I told them they didn't listen. I listened to everything he said, not just the thing that he thinks that people didn't hear about. With us, I always win in my second season. I listened to him talking about, you know, why it was that injuries weren't his fault when he didn't train anymore, but at the same time, why it was then that why did he pivot to a back three against Everton away just to shelve it 45 minutes later and never see the light of day again as a failed experiment when he couldn't possibly have trained for that on the training ground if you were to believe what he said afterwards about the fact that he wasn't training anymore because of the injuries and because of the travel and all that stuff. So I remember everything he said, and it became a little bit of double talk. With Thomas Frank, it's not so much about what he says, it's how he says it. There's no oomph there, you know. There's no foreplay. There's nothing to get me excited. It's all very downplayed. Like, you know, the only thing I'm certain of is that we are going to lose games. I mean, that's probably true, but like, I don't want to hear that, bro. I don't want to hear that. You know, and I don't know if he's got that thing. And it's the same with Johan Lang as well. Like, I think that Johan Lang in a kind of sales pitch to get people to join the football club, do I really think he's going to be able to convince someone to come and be a part of the project with his kind of vanilla tone? I don't think so. I think you need a little bit of personality, a little bit of razzmatazz, but you also need some sort of some gumption and some style and also balance to the way that you play football. I never had a problem with the way that Ange played football, by the way. If you go back and check the tape, when I lost faith in Ange, it was only right at the end. I lost faith at Ange right at the end once I realized, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I see what you're doing now with what you're saying. I was like, I see through it. You're just a salesman. You're just telling people what they want to hear and trying to remind people of the things that you said that were right and trying to make people forget the things that you said that were wrong, or the fact that you said both things. You know, you said this and you said this. And when this became true, you reminded everybody about this and tried to forget that you said, and, you know, pretend that you didn't say that. So once I saw through that, I was like, well, now I don't respect you as a coach. I certainly respect you as a speaker. I've never heard anyone with the ability to put words in the right order the way he did. But I never really had a problem with his style of football because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the football. I thought the football was fantastically entertaining. Even though towards the end we were losing every game, I generally felt in the first season, not just in the 10 games, but in the 28 that followed, even though we were on the wrong side of a lot of the results, Jamie Carragher said that no one wants to watch a Tottenham game as much as a neutral. And like, for me, football is about being entertained. So I never really had a problem with that. I just had a problem with the way he kind of reflected upon things. With Thomas Frank, I'm not wowed by him in any way, shape, or form. You know, do we need razzmatazz to attract players, or do these players go to Liverpool because there is no razzmatazz, just consistent performance levels on the pitch? I think that if you're a team like Tottenham, when you're trying to attract players that some of those teams are trying to attract, I think you're naturally going to probably lose every time anyway, because those teams have got a higher propensity of winning trophies, and which it ultimately comes down to. And those teams can also afford to pay the same wages. When it comes to competing with teams like Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Everton, however you see us in that pecking order, that Manchester United, maybe that's the sort of zone of teams where if we're looking at those sorts of players, and those players are also being looked at by those sorts of teams, and there's a relatively similar amount of affordability, there's a relatively similar amount of propensity to win trophies, then I think that you do need a sales pitch. You do need someone to present a project. You do need someone to be able to say, this is why I want you to come here. Not just because you're going to get paid 10 grand a week more than going there. Not just because you get to live in London and playing a nice stadium. All of that stuff might be true, but because we want to build the team around you. We see you as a guy that can do this. So I guess maybe I'm contradicting myself here. Maybe I'm about to contradict myself here. But Xavi Simons said the reason why he signed was because, in fact, I'm definitely going to contradict myself here, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm being authentic and sincere. It is what it is. Xavi Simons said the reason why he wanted to come to Tottenham was because Thomas Frank didn't just blow smoke up his ass. He said the things that were weak about my game, and I like to hear that because I'm used to everyone telling me I'm awesome, which is great, right? That worked with Xavi Simons because brutal honesty and a little bit of a put down, if you like. You're not as good as you think you are, and this is where I think you need to improve, and we can do that together here. That worked with Xavi Simons. That might not necessarily work with the next guy. Like, to me, being brutally honest, Thomas Frank saying one thing is for certain at Tottenham, we're going to lose games. Like, that might be brutally honest. And some of you might have gone, I love that. That's so real. To me, I'm like, bro, I don't want to hear that fucking truth. Like, when the doctor says to me, Sean, you're drinking too much, I don't want to hear that. It might be true. I don't want to hear it. You know? I don't know. Listen, has Sava started? I'm going to be handing over in a minute to him. Let me see if he's got going yet. I don't think he started yet, has he? No, he's starting in a second. Yeah. But look, that's where I'm at. So do I think that Thomas Frank is the guy? I don't think he's the guy. Do I think he's the guy to sack right now? Probably not. No, I don't. However, will I change my mind if we lose to West Ham on the weekend? I think it becomes more and more difficult to suggest that we stick with him, because I do think that there is a relatively good chance that with a proper shift in momentum, then you can get to a European spot, which I think is important. You know, again, though, there's also the argument that a season out of Europe would be beneficial. You know, it's somewhat benefited this guy's team. You know, having minutes on the training ground, it didn't really benefit Amorim's. I mean, he started to get a little bit out of Man United, but not really. You got this, Sean. You can do it. What have I got? Being honest, being authentic with you. Now, listen, no, if I go on a rant and I'm saying something and then I realize as I'm saying it out loud, actually, there's an example here of things that are not going to, I'm going to be honest and say, Xavi Simons did say to the world, part of the reason why I joined Tottenham was because I really liked the fact that Thomas Frank was honest with me and said that whilst I'm good, I'm not perfect, and these are the areas I can improve. And some people are going to react really well to that, like the carrot, or not the carrot, sorry, the stick, right? Whereas other people are gonna react well if they have everything they want they get. You know, how did Kylian Mbappe react to the PSG manager telling him, "Look, you're an unbelievable monster at scoring goals, but I need more from you in this team. I need you to do the things that you don't want to do." Kylian Mbappe said, "Fuck off, bro. Don't tell me to do that. I'm the best in the world. I'll go to Real Madrid." And you know what? His problems have followed him. He's still a fantastic player, but is he a team player? Don't know. So you have to kind of pick the message for pick the horse for the course, if you like. You know, hopefully find the right words that motivate. I just personally don't know if Thomas Frank can motivate the team. I don't think he has yet. I think that there's lots of demonstrations of a little bit of a lack of respect for the guy from the players. Mbappe sacked Alonso, says Evil Din. Yeah, don't disagree. He is an egomaniac. You know. And if you look at some of the teams that have won things, there is that kind of that we're in it together thing, you know. And that's also the last thing I'll say before I hand over to Sava is, and by the way, you can stay where you are because you're going to get redirected in 2 minutes. So, the last thing I'll say is, I do think that in the past there has been examples of managers that have galvanized their team by utilizing this narrative of it's us against the world. I think Jose Mourinho in his first stint at Chelsea with John Terry and Frank Lampard and Drogba and all those guys, he had this notion of like, everybody's out to get us. Don't worry, the team. I'll be the bad guy. I'm the personality. You guys just focus on doing your thing. We've all got each other's backs, but I'll be the guy that takes all the flack. But yeah, fuck you. It's us against the world, the media, everyone. But his version of the us included the fans and included like the club. It was all one thing. I think under Ange Postecoglou, I think he tried to do something similar. But I think the fans were included in the world bit rather than the us bit. And I think under Thomas Frank, I think he's also somewhat reacting a little bit to the fan, talking too much about the fans, calling out the fans. I think there is just a misappropriation of how you're supposed to speak about the fans, how you're supposed to interact with them, even when things are going wrong. You need to be a little bit clever with the way that you operate in that regard. And I think whilst these guys are all capable of probably seeing that, if they were looking in at somebody else doing what they're doing, they'd probably say, well, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't do that. But then because of their natural ego and their defense mechanisms being like invoked as a consequence of getting all this pressure from the press and the media and the social media spaces, all of the best plans go out the window and they go to like self-protection mode, which then means that they start to react and then consider the fans as part of the enemy. And I think that is not the way to ingratiate yourself with a football club. And I think that Ange Postecoglou by the end was losing the fans generally. And certainly the ones that stayed with him only stayed with him because he won the cup. And some people were against him the entire time and then joined him after winning the cup, like Tel. But the rest of the people, I think they'd already turned against him and wanted him gone. And certainly none of them would have wanted him to stay if it hadn't been for the cup. But he had sort of pushed the fans away to a large extent. And I think Thomas Frank, to some degree, has done a little bit of the same, but in a different mechanism. And I don't think that ends well generally. I really don't. Anyway, guys, I want to say a massive thank you. James Watts put in a super chat. He said, would you take Marcelino Garcia Toral as manager? Where is he at? Is he at Villarreal? I don't really know enough about his style, mate, to be honest. I don't know. Yeah, I'll look into it, though. Did I just see a link to him, by the way? Did I just see a link to him coming to Tottenham? No, I didn't. No, my bad. Big up to all of you guys. Please do smash the like button for me. Hit the subscribe before we leave. I'll be back later on with a transfer update. If there is anything, there really isn't that much to get into today, but I appreciate you guys stopping by for the chinwag. Love you all. Keep a lookout for Rabbit Hole Roundings tonight, and also I'll be on with Johnny at 3:30 for the Football Inc. show. Where there's lots of transfer news. It just doesn't relate to Tottenham, but we save all that stuff for over there. For now, stay where you are. Send you over to Saba. Smash the like. Put in Shawnee Raid, and I will see you later. Thanks, everybody. Love you all. Take care. Bye.